You're listening to Open for Discussion, where, man, y'all probably shouldn't have said that. It tends to happen. Let's start the show.
715 East Music Group.
Welcome to Open for Discussion, where any and everything is on the table to be discussed. I'm your host, Albert, and next to me I got my boy B. How you doing, B?
Hey, what's going on, peeps?
That's Brian, Diddy Roll, whatever you want to call him. Got my boy Cleet the Geek.
What it do?
All right. And my boy G-Dub.
Yo.
On today's show, man, we just want to give y'all an opportunity to get to know who we are. I know you're probably saying, who are these guys? And what in the world can they offer to us, man? And what we're going to bring to you is definitely something that's entertaining. We're going to try to educate you. We're going to try to inspire you. And we're going to make sure that you leave with the thought of change. You know, change something that's positive in your life so we can all move forward. We got to start that over, man.
What are you mean? That's there. We go keep that.
Keep that.
Keep it.
Put that on there with the picture of him outside the church with the flag.
Oh, man.
Great.
Keep it going.
Keep
Keep it
going,
going.
man.
This is great stuff.
This is ridiculous, man. Well, basically what I wanted to do, man, I wanted to give us all an opportunity to kind of tell the fans and the listeners who we are and what we stand for and what we plan to bring to them. So I want to go ahead and we're going to start with G-Dub himself. Let everybody hear you. Go ahead, man.
You know, I was expecting to go last. So
we're going to need you to go ahead and go.
yeah. Where do we start? So I'm my name is G-Dub, short for GW. Not George W. Bush, but G. Wayne Thompson. Maybe I should record that part over. Well, all right. So, come on, Gary. Let me see. Where can I start? I'm a 32-year-old male, married to the woman of my dreams, both literal and figurative. We'll get that story later. Got two wonderful kids, Nolan and London. I am, by profession, I am a business coach. I help people make money in their businesses. So if you need help, holla at me. If you're not really getting help, don't holla at me. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here with my boy, Uncle Al, you know, open for discussion and ready to take on a lot of stuff. Probably not going to agree with 99% of the stuff that I have to say, but at the end of the day, that's what this great country is made of. Amendment number 1.
Well, all right.
Good old Republican, huh?
Good. Controversial.
I'm a registered independent, by the way.
That's what they all say. All right, man. We're going to pass it over to Cleet the Geek.
Yo, Cleet the Geek, what's up? Yeah, man, so I'm from Miami, Florida. That's enough said there. I've been in...
What part of Miami you from, man?
Liberty City, bro. I'm from the city.
Yikes.
But
The
anyway,
question is,
you know,
can you swim?
we're going to start right there. God. That's actually going to be my embarrassing story, man.
No, he cannot swim.
That means I'm authentically from the city. If you're from the city, you know exactly what I mean, because our pools were always closed.
So
Thank
if
you. So you had nowhere to swim.
If you can swim,
There's nowhere to swim. Did we have money to go to the beach? No.
who needs money to go to the
Bro, you're in
beach?
Miami.
The beach is 15 minutes away.
That means you needed a car to actually drive to the beach. And the beach is not 15 minutes away.
Plastic pool, man. Let y'all go in the backyard and practice.
How you gonna swim in that? Please tell me the one you get from not from a Walmart. We didn't have a Walmart. We had Walgreens. All right. We was gonna get a big enough pool to actually get under the water. We just sat in the water, bruh.
Now you ain't never swim in the bathtub, man.
What? Once again, if you're authentically from the city, you know what I'm talking about. You didn't have an opportunity to swim. So anyway, Cleet the Geek, Miami, Florida. Yeah, man. I am a graphic designer by trade. I've been in Central Florida, man. I've been here for 12, 13 years now. So, but I still rep Miami hard. Let's see. I'm married. I got a beautiful wife. Also married to the wife of my dreams. And I got 2 kids, Aiden and Paris. Don't want to put my wife's name out there.
What your kids say?
I thought I was on the.
I'm just following suit.
My wife is
just
named
following
Sabrina,
suit.
by the way. Sorry,
Oh,
man.
wow, now you're going to. Now I got to. All right, my wife. We were married to sisters, man. All right. My wife is the older sister to his wife. And anyway, man, we man, happy family. Enjoy life. Excited to be on this podcast with my boy Bert and all these other fellas here, man. And excited to share some awesome stories and some amazing perspectives that we hope can just add something to your life that you didn't have before. So excited to move forward with this. Let's go.
All right, appreciate that, man. Let's go, B.
B. Smith. I am straight out of the hill.
Nobody knows where that is.
What hill is that?
Please articulate where Oak Hill is. Put it on the map, please.
Oak Hill is a place that not everyone can venture to. You have to be on a certain level to know where and how to get to Oak Hill.
Like
Talk about
Wakanda.
it.
It's a Wakanda kind of spot. I got you. Okay.
It's
Not-
No,
very
you just
similar
take
to
State
a
Road
Wakanda
46
spot.
and just go east.
Oak Hill is a spot that many aspire to but can never attain.
fight.
So it's one of those things to where you do get a lot of envious personnel. My man G Dub over here is one of them. But again, that's what you encounter when it's not a Republican stronghold. But anyway, man,
Registered
straight out the hill,
independent.
the best city in Florida, straight country. I won't disclose as much information as my predecessors, because some of the things that we may talk about may come back, and I don't want to put my family or my profession at jeopardy. So I'll just leave it there, even though.
Get that, then. You gonna scratch that part out.
No, so but no, I'm happily married, a wonderful wife, beautiful wife. I have 2 amazing kids, great family dynamic. Just love life. What I hope to bring is a unique perspective. I try to always provide a perspective that may not be what we consider the norm on a topic. So sometimes I go with the flow, but then again, I think it's always good to have that different perspective. So that's what I hope to bring.
That's what's up, man. Last but not least, I'm Al, I'm Bert, I'm Albert, whatever you want to call me. It is what it is.
Sugar lips.
You called him that.
It's ridiculous, but I plan to bring to this show a perspective of just I've lived a hard life, a good life, all in the same lifetime, and it wasn't. Let's just say that I have a lot of life experiences that I can identify with several groups. Happily married. It took a long time for me to get there, and it's not because of the woman that I'm married to. It's just my own mental state. Wonderful kids. I got a lot of kids. I'm not even going to disclose any of that information right now because it's going to be several different shows where we're going to discuss all of that. But my trade, I'm just a Renaissance man. I could do it all. I do lawn care. I do home repair. I do car repair. You got to know a lot about a little, or should I say a little about a lot. That's going to help you out in life, man. I tell every man that you need to learn a few different trades if you want to save money in your life. But definitely, I want to make sure that we connect with our fans and let them know that, man, there's lots of things that you're going through that, we've already been through it, and we could talk about how we got out of it. And some of the things that you're going through, we're going through it right now. So we definitely want to make sure that you stay tuned, stay involved with the show, because we're going to be able to connect on so many different levels. We're going to make sure that we bring in guest appearances when there are subjects that we may not be as educated on. We're not going to just spit out stuff and think that what we say is the gospel. We definitely going to do our research. We're going to make sure that the people that we bring in are going to be informative. They're going to entertain. And they're going to inspire you to change, just like we've said in the opening. So that's that. So now I just going to kind of talk to the fellas, straight up and kind of let them explain some things in their life. Have any of you guys ever kept a diary?
Heck no.
Oh my gosh.
Is this a serious question?
This is a real question, man. I know men that have kept a diary, and I question.
I tried to, man. I tried to when I was younger.
I told you. I told you. I knew men that have kept a diary.
I tried to. I mean, but mine was different because it was a assignment from school. We supposed to I'm an artist, so whatever, y'all.
What kind of artist are you? You a vocal artist?
About myself.
What kind of artist? You gotta let the people know.
Call Tyrone.
I'm a designer, man. I draw, man.
So you're a graphic artist.
Graphic art. Well, when you're an artist,
bro, are you a musical artist? Are you?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but I'm saying
artists don't like labels.
As an artist.
Deep guys. All right,
it's hard to just say one because I don't only do graphics. I paint, sculpture, all that. That's what
gotcha. All right.
But one of our assignments we were supposed to sketch in our sketchbook every day and then talk about your day. So it was an assignment that I tried to extend out, but just like most men, I can't be consistent with those kind of details, man. I don't. It's too much to think about, bruh. Like writing my whole day.
Absolutely.
It lasted maybe 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So. The reason I asked this question, fellas, is what is one thing from your childhood that you can think of that you can remember that has shaped you into the person that you are today?
Dang.
This is supposed to be like serious or comical?
It could be whatever that you can think of as a child that you can look back at and say, you know what? I remember that so much that I've carried that into my adulthood.
Shoot. I don't want to take
Bert, you got to lead the way.
Well, I'll give y'all my example, man. It's a little, I'll just say it like this. I remember as a kid growing up, we never really had a lot. And we never really got that. We never got that push to strive for greater when it comes to finances, as a kid, but to me, I always thought I was rich because we always had, a decent car. And when we grew up places, a lot of people didn't really have good cars, but my mom, she worked hard. My dad, he worked really hard to make sure that we were shielded from knowing that we were poor.
Right.
With that being said, I realized that I was poor when I moved. When I finally moved.
Taking a turn.
I realized that I was poor when we finally moved to another city. A city, it was called Palm Bay. Now, I grew up in predominantly black areas. A city called, little towns really, called Gifford. I was born in Vero Beach, but it was a little town called Gifford. It's predominantly Hispanic and blacks. Right. And then from there, I moved to Wabasso, which is... Jesus.
The name alone.
Wabasso. Where are these places?
I'm growing up as a child there, and I'm just like, man, we got what everybody else got.
Right.
The only thing we knew was Mr. Stanley was the richest person because he owned pretty much all the property in Wabasso. So that was my only distinction between, okay, he's super rich, but we good.
Right.
Because we living good. Like I said, and then the turn came for me is when we moved to a city called Palm Bay.
Yeah.
Now, Palm Bay at that time was predominantly white. So we move into the house, and again, we good. We feeling like, hey, we done moved up. This is the biggest house I've ever been in. At this time, this is like a 1,500 square foot house.
Right, now, but it felt big, though.
Yeah, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm moving out of maybe an 800 square foot home with 3 bedrooms in it. So
Jesus,
I'm just like, man, we big timing right now. But when I found out that we were really not that rich was when my white friend who lived next door walked into my house and he was like, what is that crawling all over the wall? I was like, they just roaches, man.
Yeah, they live with us. What's the problem?
Like, no, don't everybody got roaches, man? And he was horrified And so he basically wouldn't come back in my house. We were still friends, but he was just like, man, that's disgusting. How do you live like that?
That's pretty gross.
And I'm just like, man, that's, we've lived with rats. We lived with roaches before. And I'm like, it is what it is. But again, this was where my mom shielded us so much to where we never realized that we were poor. It was just, this is just who we are.
Yeah, it was your reality.
And, so from that day on, I took notice to every area I am in. Even in my life, my wife she would say all the time, she was like, you just looking everywhere. You're always looking at, and something that catches me all the time is if I see any movement on a wall, I'm always thinking it's like a part of me that it changed my life forever. Right. So throughout my entire adult life, I've been able to catch things out of the side of my eye. Yeah. When even when I'm focused on something, I'm always looking and be like, oh, it's not a bug. And so that's definitely something from my childhood that it really has stuck with me as an adult. So that's my story, man.
Right. I got one. All right. So this can actually piggyback off of what you're saying about your mom shielding you from stuff. So we've all had discussions about various topics. And we were talking about parents earlier today, right? So my situation, this is more of a serious story, but to your point, it shaped how I think today. So I had an experience where, my mom, so I grew up with my mom. My dad was in the picture, but they were separated. They never got married, had me out of wedlock. And I stayed with my mom for the majority of my life until high school. So, my mom held me down, man. It was me, and I had 3 other siblings in the house. My brother went up to college, and then it was just me and my younger brother and sister at the time. I have more brothers and sisters, but those were the ones that I lived with. So my mom, same situation. We were in the inner city. Yeah, man, I know, man. Sorry, guys. Clear my throat. The mic. No, but yeah,
idiot.
Here we go. But seriously, we lived in the city, but we didn't feel it right. She made sure we had the latest clothes if she could afford it at the time, video games, all that stuff. And so from my perspective, she was a great parent. Always held us down, protected us. Even though she was a single parent, she did a great job of just kind of playing that role. And then I still have my dad in my life. So we fast forward to what age was I? Had to be like 12 maybe. And we're riding in the car. We're leaving my grandmother's house, and we're riding in the car, and we go to turn. We leave the block that my grandma lived on. We turn the corner, and there was a police on the street that we turned into. And my mom, she's like frantic. She's like, she's acting weird, more weird than I would normally imagine her to act, and or that I was accustomed to her acting. And she put something in my hand. She's like, hold this. She's like, I don't want them to see me with this. She was like frantic. She thought the police were going to pull her over or something. And I look in my hand, there's a dime bag.
Granny was getting what?
No, it's my mom.
Oh, this your mom?
Yeah, Bert, we wouldn't even listen to your story. That's cold. That's cold. I'm with you, man.
I heard mom. I'm thinking, because I call my grandma mom.
Right.
All of my grandparents, we called them mom or mommy.
Yeah.
So it translated to me that way. But,
and then I did say I was leaving my grandma's house, so I could say,
but we were listening. I know what you meant. Don't justify that.
Yeah, man, you're terrible, man. Oh, man. Anyway, yeah, man. So she puts the dime bag in my hand, yo. I'm like, it's like my life changed at that moment. Like my childhood stopped at that moment. And I know, we're gonna have several episodes where we'll talk about these topics, but without us going on a tangent about that whole thing. That was a time in my life where I believe my childhood ended, and this other version of my childhood began, where I had all this responsibility, because she began to spiral down from that point. And then my responsibility as an older brother with my other brother in college, took another life of his own. I had to watch my brothers and sisters more, and it just became this whole other version of my life. So, it was just crazy how the moment you brought that up, that's the first thing that came to my mind, because that's literally a pivotal point in my life where, I realized the importance of proper parenting, and when that is removed, the impact it can have on a child. So, yeah, that's my story.
That's pretty deep, man.
It's really deep, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate that, though, man.
That's deep.
Anything else, fellas?
Go ahead. Go. Okay. Well, mine is. I'm sorry. I have to be a little bit comical. It's a little thick in the air right now, right?
Man, we all right, man.
No, I have this. There's just so many stories that construct the fiber of my being. But I'm extremely competitive, and it's due to the nature of where I come from, which is near Miami in the Fort Lauderdale area. We play sports.
Time out. Are you from Miami or from Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, let's clear that up, because you see how they like to.
I'm trying to claim my.
They like to claim it, bro. Let's just clear this up. Where did you live?
I was born in Northshore Hospital in Miami, Florida. I lived on 18030 Northwest 9th Avenue. Okay? Which is North Miami.
Area codes.
Then grow up.
See, so what is the definition of grow up? How long?
Stay there for a month after you was born. I could clear Miami.
I stayed there for what, 7-8 years out of my life? So is that not growing up? Is that not childhood?
Hey, that's subjective, man. If you choose to use that, man.
You know what I mean? Like I said, that's why I said Miami
credit to it, man.
Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I lived in Lakeland for a year. It was only a year.
No, you don't claim Lakeland, though. Nah, for real. I love Lakeland.
Story that makes me. So we were super competitive, and then I had a next door neighbor, man. He's one of my best friends growing up, and we ran track together, but we had never raced each other. I was a sprinter. He was a long distance runner. He ended up transferring to another school to run long distance and go on to have a prosperous track career, while I stayed at my high school focusing on education. Yeah. So we had this one meet where we decided to race outside in front of my house, and we raced. I decided to race in socks in the street, which was
always a bad idea, though.
That's
hood rule number one. Hood race rule number one. You got to take your shoes off.
And you know what? My shoes were off. I was just in socks. And I'm like, because I didn't want,
Fort Lauderdale.
You can't claim Miami with
that. So we're racing, man, and I am destroying him at this point. I'm just I'm cruising because he's winning on these gold medals in high school for running long distance, and I'm like, I'm way faster than you. I was just so excited about that. I was so focused on him that I did not realize the socks were sliding from underneath me. It's one thing to fall down in the middle of a race. It's another thing to fall down and then slide for a certain amount of distance. So that day, I fell forward. So I was running. The socks began to slide, and then I'm starting to lose my footing. So I'm falling down. Like gravity is doing what gravity does.
So you didn't roll?
I didn't roll. I slid. So that was
forward. You slid forward.
Whoa. Yeah. The concrete.
It's not. It is not.
So what that taught me was, as I walked in the house with all the blood all over me and my hands, it humbled me at that moment. I'm extremely competitive, but what I realized is up until that point, our friendship was at a really breaking point because we were arguing so much about being competitive. And I realized that in that moment that our friendship was way more important than being competitive. I didn't want to lose this dude as a friend. He's somebody I grew up with, and our families knew each other, still remotely close to this day. But I got humbled, which is, it doesn't happen to me all the time. So in that moment, I was like, you know what? Certain things are more important. And after that, I made the decision to, really honor my friendships and really take friendships to heart and really, really understanding that in our community it's hard to come by because it wasn't really looked at. Like you're not supposed to have friends. You're not supposed to be friendly. You know, you're supposed to exist on your own. But after that, it was like, nah, man, forget all that. You know, as I was bleeding and upset but I still won though. I just want to put that out there.
Yep. Of course. Yeah, we get you.
No, I won.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, you didn't. Hey, yeah. What you got, B?
Wow. Mine, as I stated, man, I grew up in the country, so we were out fishing one day on my dad's boat. We were out close to the Atlantic, and as we were out fishing, we were out in what's called backwaters, called flats. We were on the boat, and we went across this island, and I noticed something kind of catching my eye in the water. It was the light was kind of glistening off of the object in the water. So I was like, what is that? So as we go towards it, me being a child, I, had some curiosity. So I kind of get a little bit closer as the boat kind of just rests and kind of moves casually towards it. I pick it up, and it's a kilo of cocaine.
Yeah.
Cocaine? So I pick it up.
A lot of drugs in these stores.
I don't know what to do. So I pick it up. My dad's back is turned at the time. So I'm just kind of holding it like.
Did you know that's what it was at
Did
the
you
time?
know it was a
at
kilo?
The time, the way it was wrapped and it was in tape, I knew it had to be. I'm like, this is not right. I'm like, it's not sugar. And so,
This is flour?
literally, I don't know if that, I'm not sure what exactly was going down, but literally about a minute later, boat comes flying into view. And it's Pablo Escobar.
No, you're lying.
It's Pablo Escobar.
You are lying.
All right, buddy.
I don't
my
believe
dad.
it. I don't believe it.
Entire story.
I don't believe it.
Are you telling me?
I don't believe it.
All right, so I made that up. Y'all didn't let me get to the part where I shot him with a 38. We got in a fierce shootout, but no.
Let us all believe it too.
No, bro.
Cocaine?
No,
I'm an orator. That's what I do.
I study Pablo Escobar, bro. There's no way he would have came out in the open just for a kilo of cocaine.
1 kilo,
Get out of here.
So you competing with Pablo Escobar? That you do?
Not at all.
Wow.
I just enjoy drug stories.
He is competitive.
All right, now let me get to my
This is
story.
a drugstore.
He was talking about kilos of cocaine.
But really, what shaped my childhood, or really what shaped me as a person now, is my actual childhood. I look back reflectively, and everything that I do now really is founded in how I was raised. Again, I was raised in a very country town, very rural area. But the things that really stayed with me are the lessons that I learned from my parents. So my father had opportunities to take work elsewhere in other parts of the country. And I was in an age to where I could comprehend what was going on. But there were two factors that he always said were the major predicates to where which he would determine if he would take a job opportunity. And one was his parents, and secondarily was his kids. My parents, so my grandparents weren't in great health. And so my father didn't want to be away from his parents in their failing health. He had a responsibility that he felt that being a son, that he should be there for his parents as they were there for him. So he made several decisions. He turned down some very lucrative opportunities to stay and fulfill his commitment as a son. And his second reason was his children. He always said that he would never put his children in a place to where they would have to fear growing up. He wanted them to be in an environment where they were protected, to where we could walk down the street without any type of fear. We can live in a place where we could be free. And to this day, that stays with me. So whenever I make decisions, those factors come in. They really weigh on me, the responsibility that I have as a son, as a husband, and as a father. So, I'm very, very family focused and family oriented. So, in everything I do, I always look at it through the lens of, how it would affect my parents, myself, and my children.
Appreciate that, man. That's a good deal, man. You know what I mean? You made all the rest of us look like idiots.
What are we talking about?
Well, if y'all would have let me get in the gunfight with Pablo Escobar, we would have been good.
Very true, man. Definitely, man. We just want to make sure that y'all understand, man, that we all go through things and we all are shaped differently, but we all have one common goal, and that's just to be a good person, and that's what we all strive to. And taking a nugget from B's testimony there, life lessons is something that we all strive to, follow, good life lessons. And speaking of that situation in itself, right now is an opportunity for everybody to follow good life lessons. And that is the second Christmas season for, the commercial industry right now, which I like to call tax time.
Oh, boy.
Now,
here we go.
You have so many different angles that we can go on this, man, but I kind of want to see, I want to kind of throw it out there to y'all. What exactly are you planning to do with the tax return that you're receiving this year?
I'm buying a house.
Can't get mad at that at all.
Buying a house.
Okay, we got 2 house buying.
Paying the government. When you owe, you pay what's owed.
Yeah.
That's exactly true, man.
But
some of us getting, some of us giving.
Yeah.
And that's the truest statement ever said, man.
I mean, growing up, it was a whole different world now. Yeah,
Oh no,
not just growing up. I mean, it was high school,
growing up.
college, into
Man, all the way
adulthood
up to
after the,
adulthood.
you know what I mean? It's and even after you get married and have kids, you just want to
but
grab
you
it.
gotta understand that that's by design.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
If you look at the commercials right now, just about every major commercial dealer, whether it's vehicles, whether it's homes, or whether it's even insurance providers, they're giving discounts. Tax return discounts. Bring your tax return. We'll give you this. So it's.
Yeah, I think it's partially by design, but I think also like the only reason why you get tax money back is that they didn't take enough money from you, or they took too much money from you throughout the year. That's what the refund is.
Absolutely.
I took too much money from you. Now I got to pay you back.
Hold on now. I'm gonna stop you on that point. How many, just in this room, a room of 4, how many of us know somebody that got somebody else's kids on their tax return?
Oh,
I
shoot.
mean,
Sure, I did that when I was first year of college.
I don't know if you should be admitting that on the air.
Is it too many years? They still come?
There's no statute of limitations for taxes, bro.
yeah, they always come back to get you. That's Wesley Snipes.
Somebody I know did it.
There you go.
Somebody I know put their sister on there. Said it. Actually, no, I did help her out like once or twice. But I came from that environment, man.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, and you would get calls. It's like, hey, man, let me put your sister on that. Let me, you get.
Dude, y'all got to understand,
neighbors.
it is an industry.
It's a black market.
It's a black market for put your baby on my taxes.
Yeah, which is it's interesting because it's fighting for government money, right? Let me put you on so I can take advantage of this government money. Imagine if you put that ingenuity into actually building something. All right?
What are you talking about? Working?
Not
I can get this money and y'all
Chill,
know
get it for free.
Y'all know what season it is.
Yeah,
I'm finna splurge.
This is funny. I have a let me just call him an associate. He posted on his Facebook page this week, literally eating a lobster dinner. Right? The caption was, "When that tax money dropped."
But it's so true, man.
I'm sitting here because I get so upset with him from time to time because he has 3 kids from like 2 baby mamas, and he's really smart individual, extremely smart individual. Had a challenging upbringing. Decided to he tried to go to culinary school. They didn't let him in culinary school. In his life, he became a corrections officer. And that's what he's been doing for
That's
like
that hustle right there.
the last
When you did correction office for a little while,
2 years.
2 years,
Yeah, 2 years.
but
overtime.
But then you just stay there, right? And you don't try to do anything else. And then you working for this overtime, and then you working to get money, and you're only trying to get money to do what? go buy J's.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, they come out on Saturday.
It's like, are you crazy? Like this doesn't make any sense. And then
the club
posting
life.
lobster dinner. Now, don't get me wrong. I got no problem with no lobster dinner.
Straight up.
But can we see more things edifying? Like I love the post that came around last year. A person paid their whole rent for a year with a tax return. Now, granted, it was $5,400 for the year. I'm not really sure where you could go and pay your rent for the year. But
it is what it is.
It's an investment.
You paid your rent.
You know
for
what
the
I'm
year.
saying? That comes back to you 100-fold. Like not, without even think about coming to the first of the month, not having a mortgage, not having a rent.
Straight up.
That's amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can save that money. You can start to build more. You can invest more in yourself to build whatever you need to build. It's really disappointing to me to see the mentality when it comes to that. Because I got my refund back. It's like, no, first of all, they took too much money from you. That's first of all. And second of all, money is going to be gone by March. Right? 9 times out of 10, it's done within the first 6 weeks
I can
of you
admit
getting
to
it.
I was that guy where if we got a return at all, even if that return was $5,000, I figured out a way to blow it within 3 months.
Like, you're just trying to
blow
get
it, but I gotta get it. And it's like getting a Pell Grant. And when you're in college,
the Pell Grant.
now, just think about it. Think about how many Pell Grants you got. And I was on full scholarship. So I didn't have a need for any outside, funds. But you give me a Pell Grant, that thing was $2,500 in a 19-year-old's hands. Listen, man.
J City.
I didn't even buy J's, man. We were in Roxy's.
So you were literally blowing it.
I was blowing it. I would blow money for no reason. We were renting cars and we all got cars. And so I've been in that situation, man. It is really dumb.
So I have a question.
It's a maturity aspect. Man.
How do you promote financial correction or financial education to the 18 to 25-year-old to prevent that habit from being grown? Because I made the same mistakes. My parents were great. They never showed me any splurging like that. They never they would buy nice stuff. Like my dad always was getting a new car and stuff like that, and he had his own business, so a lot of that stuff was write-offs anyway. Mm-hmm. But how do you promote without sounding like the age-old gotta save your money. Don't sign up for credit cards because that's an injection of cash that you get and even when I was in college, I was getting, because I worked in college, I would get like $1,300 at one point, and that's like pure cash. You got to do nothing with that. Like, how do you promote making the right decision in those people to invest that over whatever? So
yeah, I think it starts with you got to get to the root of why a person wants to splurge. I mean, a lot of times they want to splurge because they used to not have it. You know what I mean? So you feel like this is my chance to get some stuff I've been wanting all year. So if the mentality can change to you kind of prep yourself where you're not in dire need of the money like that, that's a beginner. I think for me, I grew up in a culture where, I'll be honest with you fellas, I didn't know until maybe 2 or 3 years ago that I didn't know that once you start making a certain amount of money, you have to pay the government. I just thought everybody got tax returns.
Oh, nobody.
But that shows
tax liability.
That shows a point that there's people that don't even know that everyone doesn't get tax returns.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So there's a whole culture. It's
foreign to them, man.
Yeah, it's foreign. It's like what? I'm supposed to get money every time I file my taxes.
You
it's
ain't
like
get your return.
You gotta pay.
No, I paid them.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. So I think it's when someone think about it. That was I'm 32 now, so you're talking about 29 maybe when I finally understood that. So I mean, you're talking about having to go back and retrain the way someone thinks about something. And I think you have to start looking at the root. That's the only way to get rid of that mentality. Because otherwise, it's like, it's ingrained in you. Every time this time of year, this is when I rack up all my stuff. You know, and that's kind of and it almost makes you want to stay in that place because you I know this money is coming. If I make too much money, then I'm gonna stop.
You stop getting money.
It's like the same thing with what is it? Food stamps.
Yeah. Government.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You
the
don't
same
wanna
mentality.
make
It's
over
like,
a certain amount.
yeah, so you'll lie so that you won't report income that you're earning, so you can keep getting that money, or you'll keep yourself down so that you keep that money. It's like it's
You know how much thought
it's a mentality,
and
bro.
energy it takes to make this
Absolutely,
hustle.
man.
He's like, wait a second. Oh wait, whoa. I'm at 37,000. I can't get 3 more thousand. All right, you know what, Clete? I'm gonna put some money in your bank account. I'm gonna shift some things around.
Yeah.
Like,
My mom is the number one hustler.
Can
bruh.
I claim your kid?
you know what I'm saying?
My
Like,
mom is the number one hustler, man. I'm telling you, she done. If
know
there's
how
a
to get it.
loophole, she's
Yeah.
still working. She's like, oh yeah, she's been. What's the
She
thing?
trumping all of the taxes.
Yeah, what's the thing? When you get hurt on work,
workman's comp.
Workman's comp
She
or
did.
disability.
Now she's on disability, bro. She's been doing that thing for the last 20 years, bro.
And his name is Riley O'Keefe. And his mom's name is Ruth O'Keefe.
B, what do you think about that subject, man? What do you think would be a way to get the 18, 19-year-olds, these what is the name of them, man? It's the Gen Xers, and then what are these?
They're Gen
What
Gen
are they?
Z? Because we're Gen Y, right?
No, you're a millennial.
The
Yeah,
millennials.
well, Gen Y
Millennials.
and millennial, I think the same.
Yeah,
thing.
that's
that
what
might
it
be the
is.
same
Yeah.
thing, but
You
yeah.
know, how do we get these millennials to start saving, man?
Well, I think everyone really kind of addressed the root of it. It's really a mentality and it's cultural. From my perspective, I think, Wayne said something that I believe is similar to my position. My parents never splurged at income tax time. But my first tax return, gone.
Crazy, man.
Straight up.
But at the same time, I have no idea what my parents did with our
me
income
too.
tax.
Agreed.
I'm
Agreed.
pretty sure they paid bills because they had 5 kids. But they never told me, well, I don't even know if they even got returns, but they never took the time to state this is what the process is. Some get refunds, some have to pay. And if in the event that you do get a refund, these are the things that you should do with it. So I think first off, for people in similar situations to where you don't have the parents that splurge, typically if your parents don't splurge, you don't live a very exuberant life. Like, I never had a pair of J's. I was never the kid who had all designer clothes top to bottom. One, because that's not my personality. But secondarily, I have 5 brothers and sisters.
Hand me down city, baby.
Jesus.
And my dad and my mom are the type who they're not frugal, but they're not flashy. So that's reflective literally in all of our kids, in all of their kids, should I say. So my first opportunity to be like the other people, man, let me go get that. I got a return.
Yeah.
Growing up, I did kind of want some certain things. I remember the Sean Kemp kamikazes. I wanted a pair of them so bad.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents ever bought me a pair of shoes more than $50.
$50.
Wow.
Dog, my shoes had the strings on them. They ain't come in a box.
Or you had to cut the string.
I just had to cut the string on. Dog. My mama got me shoes out of Winn-Dixie one time, man.
So
I ain't lying.
Out of grocery
Guess
store?
what? She told me every time. When she was like,
man.
baby, the shoes done. You're special because of who you are.
Whatever.
I went out there and
Look, man, I'm not sure what type of culture they had in Wabasso, but
You could not survive in the city.
bro, you can't.
You didn't have Nikes.
And it's funny
Promise
because there are these cultural areas you come from which are traditionally impoverished areas, right? But the culture is if you come to the school. Or you come to school with Bobos, or if you walking around with Bobos, you are clowned by not one,
Absolutely.
but everybody.
Yeah.
So it's not a
even the kid with Bobos on. He just like, listen,
Number one
there's
ranker,
somebody
bro.
else to pick on.
So it's interesting. Like Brian said, it being cultural to say you wanting what you can't have a lot of times. And I think to the human psyche, you always kind of want what you don't have right now. That's why people have as a body of beings, I guess you can say, don't really appreciate people for who they are, why we have to make sure we're intentionally grateful and showing people that we appreciate them for all the stuff that they've done. But in saying so, it's like, wait a second. The culture says you need to be buying new stuff all the time. And you just go and buy it. And you just go and do it. Just
it's commercial.
Just
That's what
'cause.
all of it is.
That's what I said, man. It's by design.
Yeah.
They're always pushing, and they're telling you that these deals are out here. and you're looking at this tax return, this lump sum of money that you have in your hand that is like, well, the sale is on right now. And a lot of people's mentality is that if the sale is on and I have the money, I'm just going to get it because I want it.
Yeah.
And it's not even
I should be able to get what I want.
Yeah, it's like I worked hard all year.
Yeah.
They just giving me my money back. It's like, okay, well, put that money to real use.
Yeah, that how many? I wonder how many people put that actually towards college education or even it's not even about college education no more. Start a business. Like invest in yourself.
If you broke that up into different demographics, you would be shocked to see the difference in what. I'm not gonna use colors, but you will be.
Man, use the colors.
Yeah. You'll be shocked to see what white people and urban communities do with their tax returns and the scale of how different it is. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that the difference of use of income from a well-off community and an urban community is vastly different.
Yeah.
See, this is where I contend. I believe it's more socioeconomic than it is ethnic. I say if you take the average person with an income of less than $30,000, when they get their income tax, I would venture to say that the majority would spend them in a similar fashion, whether that's buying goods or services or luxury items. And, I would venture to say that is pretty uniform. Now, again, it may be inflated in, the black community. It may very well be, but I would pose it as more socioeconomic because I say if you contend or if you look at a different socioeconomic class, I say if you look at people who make more than $75,000 a year, I'm pretty sure that the way they spend that may be slightly different. Now, again, we live in a society that's driven by capitalism. Capitalism fueled by marketing. Marketing is extremely powerful, as you all very well know. So, and in America, we're defined by possessions. In society, that's how your value is placed. What do you have? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of home do you have? How much do you make in income? So these are the things that we assess a person's value. So if for a moment a person can attain some things that would make them increase their status to the outside world, most do.
Yeah.
Most do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it's more so exacerbated once you get to that lower socioeconomic level than in the higher socioeconomic levels. And that's just my opinion on it.
That's a good point because it makes it not about a color, but more so about a class.
Yeah. He definitely broke it down way better than I did just now.
But that's good, though. Because that's where we always go, right? We always go to it being a color thing. But when you really look at it, it's more of a class thing. Because I'm pretty sure we have some white friends, Indian friends, anybody that can still fall in that boat when they get that tax return. Like I have people in college do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Definitely, man.
I have a real question. Have you ever seen a poor Indian family?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen.
I haven't.
From the country of India?
From the country of India.
Gotcha.
I have.
I haven't.
I mean, they were regular. I mean, I worked with a lady at Bank of America. She.
Did you see her dwelling?
Yeah, so what are you denoting as poor? Because what they put emphasis on, and other cultures who come to America, they use America's system to attain wealth. You know what I mean?
She did own a business, actually.
So she's working at Bank of America, and she has a business.
Your point was terrible.
I just wanted to stop coming from an angle, Nah, she actually. Nah, I mean, she what I'm assuming or what I normally think it's wealthy is like. They didn't have luxury cars and all that stuff. They had
like Brian just
regular
said,
stuff, but they had assets.
They have wealth.
You know what I mean?
There's a difference between rich and
riches and wealth.
And I think people who are Indian who come to this country, like India as a country, is so poor. Right.
Yeah.
Like just
so if you could make it over
poor.
here, then
they come over here. They're not playing no games.
Yeah.
They're not. They mess around with no tax return.
With the Hispanic culture, when
Asian culture,
Asian culture, definitely. Mexicans, people will always say, "Oh, they doing this, they doing that." Mexicans come over here and get work.
They work.
Yeah.
They work their behinds off, man, and they will live 10, 12 people in a house, and we laugh at it, but they stacking bread.
Yeah. 10 years later,
if you making $500 a week and you only contributing $100 a month to your rent,
You saving, you sending money back too.
No, that's $1,600 a month that you could pocket.
All right. In defense of my people, because I'm African American.
There we go.
I think without historical context, the scale of judgment is imbalanced.
Okay.
And what I mean by African Americans are the only race of people that were brought here involuntarily.
Correct.
There were laws and there were systematic devices put in place to keep African Americans disadvantaged.
Right.
So I will always say, whenever you're comparing races, and blacks or African Americans specifically, you have to look at it in its totality.
Right,
so
right.
Foreigners coming here reap benefits that African Americans paved the way for.
Right,
and again, this is not to absolve African Americans from any lack of progress, because significant progress has been made. But I'm sorry?
Black Panther.
Okay, please do not interrupt me when I'm making a very serious point. And see, this right here, this identifies some of the issues with African Americans right here.
That's an accomplishment. What are you talking about?
So yeah, that's what I say when you say, if Indians are thriving, why aren't blacks? When you look at things, I mean, just as recent accomplishments, such as, in 1965, we got voting rights. These are barriers that were put in place, the Jim Crow South, the systematic housing in the North that became termed as ghettos. These are systematic barriers that were enacted upon African Americans specifically to keep them repressed. So,
no one's disagreeing with that fact. That is entirely 100% true. But when you go and you break it down even more, we are also the culture that competes against one another more than any other race. We compete against our own more than everyone else is looking to control what they do and create their own culture. So Asians are looking to support Asians, right? Jewish are looking to support Jewish. Indian are looking to support Indian. They come over here. We already talked about in houses, like 50 people staying in the house, right? Or I remember seeing, we used to live on the east side of Orlando, and I remember seeing these Asians, it was like 6 or 7 of them, adult males living in an apartment in Victoria Place. Like, they used to come in and out, and I'm like, all these people staying in one house? No, they have an objective. And they realize they don't accomplish that objective by trying to fight with one another to say, I got the best house. They say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and live. We're going to live together. And we're gonna make this thing together, and then we're gonna pave our way out.
But to Brian's point, that was systematic for black people. Systematic to cause a division.
Fantastic.
So
now that we know, do better. Like we cannot blame everything on the system that happened when we got here. Now that you know better, do better.
You know better. So does all blacks know better? I don't think so. I don't think the information that that we were systematically taught to think a certain way is assimilated across our culture. I don't think there's a black kid right now in the middle of Liberty City thinking about those kind of things. They're not. They're thinking about, I'm trying to get some OJs. I'm trying to go to the club. They don't care about, I've been systematically placed here. I got to beat, I got to mount up with my brothers and change
I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about the ones who do know better. Because the reality is that the change will come from our children as a result of the education from their parents. How are the parents setting our children up for success? We already had conversations that most African American families don't have life insurance. So that's a step. That's one step that you can do to set up your child for success.
Well, most African American family homes are broken. Right. So how can they have life insurance if the dad's in jail? So we can't even start to build a structure if the family unit isn't even together. And it goes back to that systematic situation that happened where a lot of blacks were placed in jail for, like, for instance, I was just listening to something the other day about, they were legalizing marijuana, but there's a lot of people that are locked up because of marijuana. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna let them out now? No, they're not.
Yeah, they just did. Like Barack Obama just let a bunch of people. Barack right before he left, he let a bunch of people out who were in jail for marijuana distribution.
It was in federal prison. Those who were prosecuted and who were in a federal prison with non-violent felonies. So if they had a non-violent felony, a violent felony. Yeah, then they weren't part.
They let them out.
But they let them out.
I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time.
That's federal. How many are in the county jail right now or in the state prison?
Right.
But see what G-Dub's train of thought is very common and very pervasive in America. They believe that chattel slavery was the only physical demand and physical event that happened to blacks. But what people fail to realize is that chattel slavery was one of the most egregious atrocities on any race of people. But not only was it physical, the part that was more detrimental was the mental aspect.
Right.
And from a mentality, like you said, that blacks tend to compete against other blacks, that was bred. And that was infused in the psyche of African Americans from that time. So I don't disagree with you that we can't use that as a crutch. But before you can address a problem, you have to identify it. And so, so you say, okay, slavery ended in 1865. Why couldn't you move on? So after that time, we were supposed to get, the proverbial 40 acres and a mule. But when the Freedmen's Bureau was removed from the South after Lincoln was assassinated to help ensure these rights to African Americans, now all of a sudden you're back at a disadvantage. What do you do now? You don't have property. You don't have money to buy anything. What do? You become indentured servants, which is just another form of slavery.
Right.
Because you're buying the tools that you need for your land. When you're not buying them, you're leasing them at a ridiculously high rate. Mm-hmm. Your kids can't go to school because you have to produce a crop to help pay for the tools that you're sharecropping off of. So now your children aren't in school. And when you die, you leave your children nothing but debt. So now they're indentured servants. So you go from there to the Industrial Revolution. And now you get to a point to where it's predominantly in the South, you have the terror reign of the Ku Klux Klan saying, you know what, we see you advancing, but now we'll pit you against this segment of white society. We don't want to see you advance, so now we'll terrorize you. So now you have blacks who at some point could advance, can no longer advance because of literal death. So you push forward into, you say, the post-World War II era. So now you got the GI loan because now black servicemen could, the forces were integrated by Truman. So now you get the GI Bill, which is what's considered to be the foundation for the middle class in America. You got all these veterans going out, coming back. Now you get free education. You get special housing. Black veterans didn't receive that, or they received it at a ridiculously proportional rate to whites. Why? Because in most colleges, blacks couldn't attend. And in most HBCUs, they couldn't process or they couldn't get the federal money that was allotted to the GI Bill. So now you got this foundation that established the middle class and really set America up as a superpower we weren't a part of. And now you got literally just 40 years ago, we were able to attend the same schools. My dad and my mom were the first kindergarten class integrated in their elementary school. Not my grandma, not my great-grandma, my parents.
Right.
So looking at the scope of what happened to African Americans, again, it's not saying that when we don't know better, we can't do better, but America owes a debt that really they can repay, but it needs to be repaid to African Americans. And again, one part of MLK, Dr. Martin Luther King, that doesn't get much play was the necessity for reparations for African Americans. So these same benefits that Indians get, that other immigrants get when they come into America, there are certain benefits they could get. We shun African Americans for needing assistance. But the same immigrants that we now extol because of their ability to ascend, we look at them as the pillar of what it should be. But we don't condescend them for receiving governmental assistance when they get to America initially.
So needing government assistance is one thing. Completely relying on government assistance is another, right? So the system is set up for our detriment. Granted, got it. Are there people that made it out? Are there people that were successful, although the system was built against them? We were just talking about Robert Smith, self-made billionaire, right? So with Robert Smith being able to do that, does that not set the landscape that this can be done outside of the guise of becoming a football player or becoming a basketball player? Does it exist for a person to be able to make it out of the inner cities that are completely impoverished, that are set up for a detriment because it's the same cycle over and over again? Because now, like you mentioned, there were things that African Americans did not have access to because America didn't give us. I agree 100% with that. But now you turn the age of 25, you can have $1 million life insurance policy for like $20 a month, right? So it's and you could do this. My uncle had a $50,000 life insurance policy when he started working for the school board like 35 years ago, and it was extremely, extremely nominal, right? So can that be done? Can we use the system that is designed to keep us down against itself? And I'm going to say yes, we can. And I believe that the education is there. It's just not the desire. I think that a lot of times we have when we want to do something, we do something. Black Panther, the movie, shows when we want to do something, we do something. We come together, and it's like, man, we come together like never before. But what happens outside of that?
So you're saying it's lethargy or apathy. I'm saying it's ignorance. That is the key component of why there is such disparity in economic and a mental ascension in the African American community.
So people just don't know.
Exactly. I'm not saying everybody doesn't know, because some do. But what I'm saying is, now you said that we know better. Why don't they do better? So what I'm saying is, since you know better, you have a responsibility to make sure they know better. So these same inner cities that we're talking about, these same kids that we are pretty sure they don't know, we have a responsibility. And that's where the greatest onus comes in the African American community, is the responsibility to lift up your brother. And that was a theme in Booker T. Washington. We all know him as the social activist. That was the premise of one of his core beliefs, was that you have a responsibility. Matter of fact, his brother stayed on the sharecropping farm so that he can go to college. When Booker T. Washington completed, he went back and brought his brother to school while he worked. Uh-huh. That's a responsibility that we have.
My goodness. Boy, y'all went in just now, didn't you? I'm gonna put the brakes on that, man, because that's a totally different show, totally different topic.
Show them one.
We can. Yeah, man. This
just all the way
show,
in.
Fellas. Come on now. We trying to let the train run away from us. Y'all can't get it all out in one show, man. We want people to come back and listen to something else, man. But in reality, everybody had great points on this, man. And the truth of the matter is, going back to the original question, the way we get millennials, this new age of kids growing up in, the future of our world right now is families have to get involved.
Education.
You have to educate your child. And to the point of B and G Dub, your family didn't do big splurges, but that's all you know. You were not educated on what they did with the money. And I'm not saying that they did something wrong, but now that we know that was something that we don't know, then we should take that opportunity to impart that into our children. And that's the way we get over this financial hump, into where we're educating the children that we're raising and letting them know that, hey, we got this money because of this, this, and this. And this is the reason that we got this money. Our goal is to not get a tax return. And I know that sounds dumb, but
sounds dumb to who?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody listening to this, they're saying, no, I want a tax return. But the goal is to pay taxes.
There you go.
And the reason that you want to get to that goal of paying taxes is because now you're making so much money that the government is like, look, you got to give us some of that money back. Yep. And if you got that money to give back, that means you got a whole lot more in the bank.
Rolling.
So to roll it all up and tie it all in, educate your children. Educate your children what your finances. Your children are not too young to know what the finances are. You don't have to tell them how much mom and dad make, but you can let your kids know at a young age. I have daughters. My daughter now knows that when she gets money, we make her go to the store and she pays for her own stuff. So she gets to see what a pack of gum costs, what a soda costs, or what a juice costs, or what, if she wants a meal at McDonald's. She understands that it costs, and she sees her money depleting. So now she has a better understanding of what the value of money really is. So that's the way we can bridge this gap from going from, a rich mentality to a wealthy mentality.
Did y'all have allowances growing up?
Yeah.
We didn't have allowances. We we got money for doing things around for doing chores.
Basically, that's what I'm saying. Allowance,
Something like that. You know.
I'd never, nothing against my parents. They just gave me money, So I really didn't learn the true value of money until I started spending it when I didn't have it, and then you mess up your credit in college. And
Hey, Cleet, where you from?
You had an allowance.
I ain't no dang on.
Man, I have one. You know what I'm saying?
Man, we had to work off.
I got $1 to go to the corner store. That's it.
That's what you had. You had people that you could ask. Like the lady at church gave me money every Sunday.
Absolutely.
It was like,
Now I did when I got a little older. My dad did. When he paid child support? So my mom would give me a portion of that for allowance.
That's what's up, man.
That's when I got a little older.
but it was unearned, right? Like you just got it just cause.
Yeah, because it was already.
So you didn't understand the value of money. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We got to teach our kids the value of the dollar. So as they grow up, they now have a better understanding of it, and they treat it.
They use it as a tool.
Yeah, it's money is a tool, man, and that's the truest thing that you can ever say about your finances. It's a tool for you to use to make not only a better way for yourself, but a better way for your children and anyone else that comes behind you, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and that should be our mindset. With that, fellas, I want to say, we got the first show in the books, man. I appreciate it. And, hey.
Stay away from the African-American topic.
Stay tuned, because it's going to be more fire just like this. But I do want to leave you with this.
Uplift your community.
We educate
your community.
Wait, doesn't
yourself,
like people.
And then your community.
And your community.
Educate yourself first, and then your community.
And your community.
All right, guys. All right. But on a serious note, I want to leave you with these words of encouragement. And it's a saying that I came up with when things were going awry in my marriage and in my home. And that is, don't let life be the reason you don't live. And what I mean by that is, we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of trying to do everything. Well, we're trying to work, we're trying to spend time with, the friends, and we're trying to see what else we got going on. And you forget to live with the people that you're staying in a home with. And, we so many times we forget that, your children, they're not really concerned about the money. They're not concerned about, trips and material things. A lot of times a child, in most cases, they just want that time with you. So we can't forget that there are much more important things in life than money, than obtaining a great job, or seeing who's got the most likes on a post, or, and too many times we have these internet parents that, you spend more time focusing on your Facebook and your Twitter and your Instagram that you forgot that there's a family at home. So sit down today, look at your wife, look at your husband, look at your kids, and say, you know what? I'm going to spend time with you. I'm out.
Michael. That's how we end the show, huh?
That's how you end it.
Okay.